It wouldn't go into
It was
the regular way.
it was slow.
Yeah,
Good.
okay. We'll try that again. I see John, you're up there on Zoom. Did you have any comments this morning?
No, just seeing if you had any questions on the permits that come in later.
Oh, okay. We'll get to those when we get to those then. Okay. We'll move then to the chamber this morning. Does anybody have any comments from the room? Not seeing any then. I'm going to go ahead and close off public comment. We'll move on to commission comments. Again, we'll start with Commissioner McKinley.
Because I've gotten calls for, but for those of you who had questions about the proposed National Heritage Area, there's a great article in this week's issues of Grass and Grain in Riley County that covers a lot of questions that are being brought up and recommended to anyone that's got questions about or just finding out about it. It's a good deal. And in the last few days or nights, I've been busy trying to protect my garden, particularly my strawberries, my favorite. So that's from the freezing temperatures at night and from what I can see so far, everything's made it. So that was it.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Foki?
Yeah, on Monday afternoon, attended the law board meeting, and during that meeting, we reviewed revenues and expenditures and went over the proposed budget for 22. There were several proclamations made by Chairwoman Morse. One was National Correction Officers Week, and another was a National Police Week. So there were 3 or 4 people attending from both entities. Discussion was on the 30-year anniversary of the Kayla reaccreditation. There will be a celebration at the Law Enforcement Center on May 4th at 8:30 a.m. Apparently this is a real big deal, as there's only 11 agencies in Kansas that are accredited. So Director Butler has really been working on that very diligently and planning for that. I also gave a report on the shooting range, which is almost complete. Water line is going in currently, and after that, the fence will be installed. They've been using the shooting range some, and some of the offices in the building. They do have porta potties out there, the temporary until the water line is connected. Let's see. I had a 3-hour dental appointment on Wednesday, so I was pretty numb most of the day. But I did get a chance to speak with Craig Cox on the Hunter Island issues. After a lot of discussion and what's going on out there with the HDHE and the Corps of Engineers, I suggested that we send a letter to all the property owners out in that area, and I'll send it throughout the county that are on the creek, so that they know what the regulations are as far as floodplains and floodways. He seemed to think that was a good idea, and he was going to talk to Amanda about it. I suggested that we might do it set it up like in each of our voting districts, so that you and I are going to the same, answering the same complaints all the time, and that we could break it up a little more that way. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand or don't know what the regulations are. So that way we can kind of cover ourselves. So yes, you have received the regulations. So if anything like what's happening now goes on, or we'll say, yeah, we've sent you the regulations. So this is. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I thought it was fairly.
Probably with the change of some of the land use and some of the codes and regulations, that's probably not a horrible idea.
Yeah, so it'll take some time to get that out. He was talking about doing it in stages, different areas of the creek and that kind of thing. So he is going to work with Amanda on that. So let's see. I did accept an invitation to the Food and Farm Council's Master Food Plan Leadership Team. And I was interested in them because I've been involved in food insecurity in the in the area for quite some time, and I was in need of another board to sit on, so. So, that we need probably to add that to the list of boards. It meets on the third Tuesday from 1 to 2 in the afternoon. So that seemed to work out well with my schedule. I am really looking forward to the road and bridge tour we're going to do this afternoon. So it'll be interesting, at least for me, to see all the progress that's being made and proposed. That's it.
Okay. Well, I too attended the RCPD Law Board meeting on Monday. He pretty much summarized everything, so I won't go back through it. From my perspective, I'm glad to see that the firing range is just about done and complete. That's been it's been a very cumbersome and challenging project all the way through. So be glad, and well over budget as well. So glad to see that will be done and completed and off the radar. No pun intended there. Moving forward. So I got the indication, of course, I guess this is my only fourth meeting. That was a pretty quick, straightforward, efficient meeting.
Mhm.
I'm not anticipating too many of those, so maybe we should enjoy the one that we had here for April. But yeah, proclamations, everything was done well and done complete. So Tuesday afternoon, I intended in person for the first time, I think, since last January, the monthly meeting of the board of directors for the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce. We did it over at the Kansas Farm Bureau auditorium. I guess not really an auditorium, but their conference room area over there. There's split into 3 parts. So everybody was spread out pretty well. Among the topics of discussions was the recent internal audit and asset capitalization. Went through that. They had an update and a request for the Made for Manhattan project that they're working on. I have some information, and I don't know if either of you two have gotten that. I'll send it over to Rich and have him make sure that you guys get that information on that as well. Got a presentation on the business conditions report, the same one that George gave us during their last update there, gave as well, and an update on building site potentials and growth initiatives in and around the region as well, and then the regular staff reports and president's report from Jason Smith. So all in all, went well. It was a pretty quick, effective, and efficient meeting, much like the law board meeting too. So, and today, just as a reminder, is the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation's Grow Green Match Day. Happens, I guess, every year on Earth Day. This year, of course, it's being done virtually, so you'll have to go to www.growgreenmanhattan.com. Pulls up the website. It's got all the list of the charitable organizations you make a contribution to, and of course, they're matching those donations. I think this is the 9th year, if I'm not trying to remember. It's been a handful now. I don't think it's year number 9 for this. Lots of worthy community partners, dedicated groups doing good work. Keep in mind that a lot of these partners had to reduce or even cancel all of their actual fundraising efforts last year. So because of COVID, of course, so all these donations will be extremely important, even more so this year. They are every year, but there's that added extra this year. So just encourage everybody to make a donation to one of those wonderful organizations. So, and with that, that's all I've got. So I guess we can move on to some business.
First time we have a commissioner's highway use permit, granting Twin Valley Telephone permission to work in the right of way for a fiber optic line to 5515 Silver Creek Road.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the highway use permit, granting Twin Valley Telephone permission to complete the work as outlined in the permit.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the highway use permit for Twin Valley Telephone. All those in favor? Aye.
Next, commissioners have a highway use permit granting Larson Construction permission to work in the right of way to install two 2-inch conduits for water and electric services to 3550 McDowell Creek Road.
I have a question on that, and I don't know if John's still there. Will there be a disruption of the traffic flow on McDowell Creek Road during this?
I think that's a bore.
Yeah, it says a bore, but I didn't understand if that would deter.
Just up outside off the roadway and drill underneath. So no, it shouldn't affect the traffic too much.
How far down do those bores go?
I'd have to see, we're at least 3 foot below the ditch line is our requirements for them to be with utilities.
Okay. Great. Okay, that was all I had. On that.
Okay, I move to approve the highway use permit, granting Larson Construction permission to complete the work as outlined in the permit.
Okay, I'd second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the highway use permit for Larson Construction. All those in favor?
Aye.
What's
Start,
that?
huh?
Yeah, pictures, everything. Okay.
Yep. Next, I need a motion on the law board applicant questions.
I think there's a typo on number 5.
Okay?
It says, what do you hope to bring to our board in terms of, I probably should say in terms of.
Gotcha. That's good catch. Thank you.
Read through them so fast that.
Yeah, it's easy to miss.
Yeah, I just caught it this morning. So it's- Now, I did look at that interview or whatever was there on the Zoom meeting. I didn't show a lot of it.
Yeah, there's only 2 people, so.
Yeah. So that was, so it happens. It happens in other boards quite a bit.
Yeah, that's the only.
That's the only one.
That's the only other one.
And that's not a board, you have to understand. They're contract
Yeah,
hires,
Yeah.
so that's not a board.
yeah, and that comes with a different set of variables for the funding that we provide in two different means, so.
Yeah, it's the indigent defense panel.
Yeah.
Clancy works on that each year. So yeah, they're contractual.
So are we planning to do that type of an interview?
That was my thoughts. Of course, that's up for discussion, I mean, obviously, but that was kind of my thought, to kind of follow a similar process to that. Inviting each of the applicants in, asking them questions, giving them, I guess it would depend on how many applicants you have at that particular point in time, but giving them 10, 15 minutes total, say a little bit about themselves, ask them pertinent questions, and then make those decisions.
Just something at some point in time, you don't have to do it today, but to clarify to be sure all of you are on the same page on how you want to do that when we get to that point.
To that
Because I know
point.
Catherine has some hesitancy, and so we just need to be sure.
Yeah, I do have a little hesitancy as far as they're doing that in a public forum, but,
Yeah.
I'm worried about getting people to apply if they're hesitant. In public, that's something.
Well, I can understand that concern. The one thing I would say on that is if you're going to serve on this board, you're going to have to be in public
Yeah.
anyway. So I think the people applying will probably understand that particular point, but it may keep some people off the radar already. So,
Yeah.
at least for now anyway, are we okay with at least the applicant sheet here? And I guess the
Yeah,
ones that are
that's
highlighted here are the ones that were.
It's actually in the most,
She's-
it's one.
need to pay better
was prior
for that.
experience,
That's the
Background in
final
law.
list.
There's 1 through 7. Is it coming up on here, Sean?
I probably clicked the wrong thing here.
Yeah, those.
I think we summarized it pretty well in
It has
those
7 questions
7
outlined there.
questions.
Yeah, it's not downloading on mine.
Yeah, it's what is your prior experience background with law enforcement is number 1. Number 2 is what do you see as your biggest strength in helping RCPD and the law board if you have the opportunity to serve. Number 3 is what other boards / committees and community engagement experience do you have? Number 4, in your opinion, what are the core responsibilities of a board member and the law board itself? Number 5, what do you hope to bring to our board in terms of your personal skills and abilities? Number 6, what are your expectations of yourself and other board members in serving on this board? And number 7, how do you help our organization make connections and build relationships in the community?
Okay.
Those are okay if we get a motion from the board?
You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I move to approve the questions as presented for the law board applicants.
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the adoption of the questions for law board appointments. All those in favor? Aye.
Next, Riley County Personnel Action Form, Melanie Moretti, and Administrative Clerk 2, Utilities and Public Works Department, separation of services. All 3, please. Next, Commissioners, I need a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
I would make a motion to approve the accounts payable, payroll accounts and accounts payable.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded on payroll and accounts payable. All those in favor?
Aye.
All 3 multiple times, please. And Commissioners, we have the intergovernmental luncheon coming up April 26th. I'm assuming all of you would like to attend.
Yes.
Yep.
All of you okay with AJ skin?
Yes.
And who would like a salad with what dressing?
Italian.
Ranch.
Catherine?
I do Italian.
It's vacated. And I know this is probably something the commission wants to discuss at some time, or it might be a good time to bring it up at the next meeting at any point in time if you foresee us going in person on those, but
It's on the agenda.
okay.
I had Cindy put that on the agenda
Yeah,
for discussion. Yeah.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'll come back to you.
Oh, I looked and he wasn't there.
Ready for the minutes, the board is.
Everybody ready to go? I'm actually ready to go today for a change. Okay, we'll start with page 1.
I got something. Rich, on the first it said Lockett representing that, it said she wishes, that would be key.
Where's this at?
On the public comment, the first one, Lockett, towards the end of it, it says she. Instead of he.
Oh, gotcha. That's a good catch.
And also on that one, on the very last sentence there on number 1,
Mhm.
Lockett needs to have 2 T's.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yep, the very last one. Gotcha. Thank you.
Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6.
On there.
Okay.
On under 11.
Yes.
The request said, second paragraph stated the request to open 2 full-time positions and hire a part-time. Really, it's 1 full-time and 1 part-time. As it says, part-time, it might go to full-time.
Gotcha. Got it.
That's it.
Okay. What page was that again? Page 6?
6.
Okay, yes.
On that one too, Deb register, she will be full-time temporary, right?
Yeah, so they get that position hired and then she'll move into the part-time slot till that one gets
It's trained.
transitioned, and then I guess they'll be coming back to us with further determination. That's what I got.
We need to add that in here.
Or just a temporary.
Yeah, it does say at the bottom
Does say
there, temporary. Yeah,
All right.
it's listed as both
Yeah.
positions, so multiple. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected for April 19th, 2021.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the amended version of the minutes for April 19th, 2021. All those in favor? Aye.
Tentative agenda, commissioners?
We
Very tentative.
we talked about, I thought we were going to try to put the sales tax, discussion.
Yeah, John's gonna try and get that on. That's, I asked him to do it for today's thing. I talked to him yesterday, so hopefully he'll contact Cindy to get that on there.
Okay. Especially the one next Thursday, it's a pretty brief one anyway.
Yeah,
Time there, if he can come in on that one.
just spoke with John about that yesterday, so hopefully it will be. Any items for next week's press conference? Next commissioner, you have Barry Wilkerson at 9 o'clock. Mr. Chairman?
Oh, did I miss one?
There's a lot of documents in it.
Is there 4?
Oh,
Did we add a 4th one?
There was.
Oh, normally I add 3, so I just count 1, 2, 3. So.
Sir.
there's space.
Everything's a changing these days, apparently.
There's like space for 5 if we had 5 commissioners.
Yeah,
Well, some counties, there's a few counties that do.
Uh-huh.
one county has 7.
11, then Johnson County has 11.
So I've never heard of 11.
No, 7.
7?
Yeah,
Okay.
7's no set for the.
Probably, somebody's been sitting much here. They feel because I've got This is a Diet
I
Coke.
came in here yesterday to catch up on some email and get some stuff printed, and there was a pretty large group in here. I don't know who.
Like I said, my drink is a Diet Coke, it doesn't leave red stains. So-
Morning, Barry. Morning.
Oh,
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
Morning, how are you? Good. Okay, Barry, go ahead.
We lost an assistant county attorney, left the office on the 13th, and so I would like to fill that position. We do need, that position is critical to our office, especially if we start gearing back up for trials. So I'll just ask your permission to fill that position. It is a budgeted, it's already been, the money's there, so.
well, I would make a motion to fill that position.
Now second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Barry. You bet. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else for mine?
Okay. A little quieter this time.
What?
I said it's a little quieter discussion this time.
I'll try to keep it that way.
Okay.
Try not to bring too much excitement in
Appreciate
Coming
that.
over, Barry.
Appreciate that a lot. Thanks, Barry.
Commissioners, you have plan seat at 9:15.
Thanks, sir. Good.
Still see some sunshine out there.
It could be good old 80 degrees on Monday.
That's good. Maybe the plants will start.
There you go. Perking back up again. Yeah.
I'm just gonna get you guys again, because it only lasted 2 days and the cool front comes in.
Really?
Yeah, this one's supposed to bring severe weather.
Is it
That's what they're saying, yeah.
really?
Okay.
That's heard that. Thanks, sir.
Okay, well, while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we add an executive session to Clancy Holman's administrative work session.
I'll second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Rich, are y'all gonna be out here at 10:30 to go?
I believe so. I didn't confirm that with John.
I'm gonna take, one of the other county cars, because I'm just gonna follow along for about an hour, and then I'll head back, so,
Sounds great. Sounds great.
so I get a little space.
Guess we'd have to schedule another one to go north. This one's southeast. John.
Yep. Schedule a time also to get a tour of the new RCPD firing range.
Yeah.
They're going to have an open house set up. So I don't know if we want to follow along with that at our own leisure, if we want to set up something separate. That conversation has come up.
Yeah, whatever the board prefers.
Okay.
You need the full 20, Clancy?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So I don't know if you got the same set of emails I got throughout the week, but apparently at the city commission meeting on Tuesday, they had over 2,000 comments on their Facebook live feed from their discussion on NBAF. I got emails from people in Nevada, New York, Massachusetts. Yeah, seriously, about not wanting NBAF.
It's unsafe in the middle of the country.
It's a little late for that.
That's my thought exactly. I'm like, that discussion was a decade ago. Of course, I would have got emails a decade ago because I wasn't here, but kind of hard to argue the semantics when you've spent $1.2 billion already.
It's
And
almost done.
it's the facility's done and almost operational. Now's probably not the time to have that dialogue.
And all the concerns were brought up then,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, twice. We went through the formalized process and then it almost got moved and went through it again. So,
Well, I understand from Mercury, it's some nation group that's got some nationwide speakers started railing about that this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's where it came
Haven't
from.
heard.
I haven't heard that.
Somebody, one of those, I don't know, was a radio person, or somebody that got it all, that got it really far. Yeah, they were saying, Mercury talked about how there's so many emails. What's going on? They said, oh, they came from all over the country.
yeah, I got somebody from Nevada, Massachusetts, and I think New York, not New York City. New York.
Really? Yeah, I didn't get any of those.
Okay, I was curious about that.
I'm not gonna say. Yeah.
I got 3 separate ones and it was like back to back to back. I was like, oh, okay.
That's strange. I must thank your city commissioner.
I don't know. Yeah, really, the county didn't have a whole lot to do in that,
Well, how did the city respond?
I don't know. 2,000 of those at once, I don't know that you really do. And then, like you said, I don't, those were comments.
Yeah,
but
Facebook Live or whatever it was.
I don't know that you really,
There's some-
Or if you don't, check with John, am I supposed to pick up the van?
Somebody said
There's a receipt.
that whoever this, and I can't find a name, who it was.
Okay, and
He
if
said
I,
it was
that's
just
fine,
like
if I just need to let
the
him know.
Wuhan lab. This will be just like
Thanks.
Wuhan
No.
lab in a pandemic created.
do your research before.
I know,
Jeez.
I could say it. It's just what.
This is the law that takes care of the things that get made there.
Yeah,
What was the Texas?
If you want to destroy your own local economy, I say, okay, fine, go right ahead, but leave ours alone.
it's a podcast. By somebody, I get the name of it.
The world can be a maddening place sometimes.
Really?
And with that, it's Clancy's time.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is one of our county council. Ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Okay. Did we talk about one item before or after?
We can, well, why don't we do it after?
Okay, that'll work. Okay. Yeah, I've got the most sheet in front of me here. I'll go ahead and move that the county commission, including Chairman Ford, Commissioner McKinley, and Commissioner Foki, recess into executive session for the purpose of consultation with Clancy Holman, attorney for the commission, on a matter which is deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. An exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act, the open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 9:35? Yeah, 9:35 a.m. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Manager, will be present during a portion of the executive session to provide factual information.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the executive session. All those in favor?
All right.
Okay, I move the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I will also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session. Yes, second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're good to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did have one thing just quickly here. I know that the veto session starts on the third, so we got 2 weeks. I'm kind of following and tracking Senate Bill 87 with real interest. Thinking a letter of support might be applicable for that,
Sure.
given the dynamics.
Sure.
That's something everybody else would want to do. That is the county sales tax bill.
Okay.
Trying to
I can't keep.
extend some of the, take some of the restrictions off of that and give counties the ability to draft that in a little better manner. For obvious reasons. Yeah, okay. So that's something I'd like to maybe get in the pipeline.
Yeah, I'll bring a draft so you can take a look at it.
Okay.
You got a little time to submit it.
Sounds good.
There was, I will have this one caveat. Given, and I'm serious, given the approach the legislature is taking this session, we do run the risk in doing this. Oh, wait a minute, counties like this, there must be something inherently wrong with this. I'm not kidding. I think.
Gone dark
prospects
like
that
me.
pretty- I mean, I doubt that since it's gotten this far, I don't think that's likely. I think it's a risk worth taking. Speak up and say, yeah, this is something appropriate. Thanks.
Okay, and with that, I guess, Kevin, a couple of minutes of your time, but
No problem. All right, yeah. No problem whatsoever. This is my update for April. And we've had quite a bit happen, but it's ought to go quick.
Okay.
Basically, as I'm reporting here, a few items of note. Reason I replace clerk's high volume envelope printer as we replace equipment all the time, but this commission, I wanted to remind that some devices like printers, we don't replace just because they're X years old. Good HP printer will run a long time. So kind of our take on this is taxpayer money, so we get as much life out of equipment that we reasonably can. Computers usually don't fall within that because they get slower and slower and the technology gets older, and after 6 or so years they're not suitable, but on a printer, we'll let it run until it dies. So anyway, that's why I mentioned that.
On that, so the commissioners know, and the taxpayers know that we are very conscious about what we spend. I had a request for a new printer this last week. HR needed one, and they happened to have one in stock that someone else wasn't using that we just reused. So we didn't go and buy a new printer. We used a used one that was available. So we are very conscious of that.
Yeah, I try to get every inch of life we can out of these devices. So. Going on down the list, we did complete our hiring process for the vacant IT tech position. We fortunately stole one of Shiloh's treasurer employees, give him an opportunity to grow into.
Someone's got to lead, John.
It's happened to me.
wow. Wow.
Give him an opportunity to grow into a new role. He was kind of interested in the technical role. So Derek Schrollers, our new IT technician, started just this week. Things are going well there. Just to inform the board, provided the counselor the IT related information that would be needed if and when we decide to do a remodel, or CASA is allowed to do a remodel of their area on the 4th floor. So I provided that, and we'll just wait for the next shoe to drop there. Something I want to bring to the commission's attention, we're talking about replacing our AS400 equipment. Now that's just another acronym to you, but that's the rather large and rather expensive server that runs our Comtech system. So we have some options there. That again is another device that we can get an extraordinarily long life out of, but this one was the one that we have right now was purchased in 2013. So that's about, it's at end of life. It's still running our application just fine and reliable, but what happens is the vendors stop supporting the hardware. They won't give the hardware support anymore or software support. And we obviously will not run a major system like that on unsupported hardware. So I'll be coming to the commission at some point in the future about potentially purchasing new AS400 hardware or potentially off-sourcing that and letting our vendor host the hardware. We'll do an analysis of what's most cost-effective for the county and bring a recommendation to the board on that. So that'll be coming up.
Kevin?
Yes,
On
sir.
that AS400, it's amazing on that AS400 is, I've been here a little while. And at least a couple decades ago, they were saying how you gotta upgrade and get away from the AS400, but the AS400 is just a workhorse. And they said decades ago it would be going away, and it doesn't. They're a very strong piece of equipment.
How'd somebody else
The
been there?
current system that we use does require that or a cloud-based system.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't be bringing that to you this morning, except, like I say, the fact that IBM's dropping support on it, forcing their hand to some extent, but
Like going all this cloud-based.
yeah, there's some inherent dangers to that, absolutely. If your internet connection's down, you're down. So, okay, good to know, thank you. Begin work on the 2022 ITGIS budget. I don't see any huge surprises I'll be bringing to the commission at this point, but obviously we got a little time left to get that finalized. Just a little info on the website, a couple of little items. One, before the current commission was here, I believe in 2017, is that right? Commissioner Ford, you were in 2017. When did you?
I started in 19. So
Okay.
a little bit.
So in 2017, that was the last refresh of our current Civics Plus hosted county website. And with the addition of the PIO and her expertise in this, and plus the fact that we're due this year, she's going to be a great assistance to us in helping with that. But we'll be redesigning that Bradley County website with Civics Plus, and Alice and I will be working that project. Like we did in 2017, we'll be able to bring some still shots, as it were, some examples to the board so you can see what we're proposing to do and approve it in stages. Way back in the past, there were committees formed on this. That's before my time. I heard that was problematic. It's like herding cats sometimes. So in 2017, we kind of took a slightly different tack. We went ahead with the redesign with a very much smaller working group, and then we brought the results to the department heads and hashed through any potential changes there. And then that refined product, we of course brought to the board for approval, and a couple, 2-3 times, I think, before the final product was put out there. Bottom line is, oh, yes, sir.
No, go ahead, finish.
I say bottom line is, we're a college town. It's a lot of younger folks here, a lot of transient population. It's really important. Alice and I both believe, I think, that we keep that website as current, fresh, and modern, if you will, as possible.
Just to add on to that, sorry, Kevin, I keep adding into your stuff.
Great.
Working with the same individuals you are on that. Alice is going through and doing a lot of cleanup on the existing sites, so if you guys go out to it, you will see cleanup and modernization of as much as can be done now. They're talking about a much bigger revision of it, but right now we're currently cleaning it up a lot. And just exactly what Kevin talked about, the modernization due to the population of our community. We aren't the largest community, but we are a highly educated community. And just because of that, we have a lot of people that demand different levels of services, i.e., and that kind of relates into a big discussion we had yesterday on OpenGov and how that doesn't replace Civics Plus, but will enhance it greatly and modernize it. So we'll be bringing an OpenGov presentation to the board at some point in time, but it's all directly related to the improvements in the website as well.
Yeah, that
Sorry,
accessibility, absolutely. It's just, and like Rich said, a lot of the links are broken now, that sort of thing. They just, over time, things happen and things get moved around. And it's nice to have someone watching that and editing that as necessary. So that process is ongoing. And yeah, it's a 2021 project, so we'll have it done this year. Commissioner Folke had asked my last update about splash top licenses. That's the license that allows our departments to potentially work at home Potentially, I say, again, we just purchased a license. It's a department directive on who is allowed or is needed to work at home. We currently renewed 79 licenses. And it's pretty cheap. I mean, relatively speaking, about $54 per year. So pretty good insurance to enable that for key people to be able to work remotely if this thing should spike up again or something else should happen. So anyway, you don't buy it a month at a time, you buy it a year at a time. So we're in good shape for 1 year, but then obviously we'll reevaluate again on what the direction is the departments want to take this in. But we do have the tool and we'll keep it fresh and able to do its job when it's called upon. Update the board that I am working again with Rich's group, Alice and Elizabeth both on this, but and Clancy, we've had IT policy rewrites that have happened in the past, and like so many things, COVID kind of got in the way. Everything got paused, but it's still important that we get those policies updated to more modern terminology and reflecting the more current HR views or et cetera. So anyway, the group of us forming a small working group to continue the updating of the IT policies. So I'll be bringing to this group some potentially updated IT policies sometime in the very near future for your review and question, hopefully. Lastly, on the IT front, I'll inform the board that we are having to do an Exchange upgrade. Exchange is our email system, basically. Without going into a lot of detail, it's hosted on a couple of servers. We have a main server, a backup server. We're having to do an upgrade here, but the way and this is probably important to note, the way we configure our systems with redundancy, that allows us to imagine take down the backup side, the redundant systems, we take down the side that's not active, we upgrade that, we move everybody over, we upgrade the other one, no downtime for employees. That's the idea in that sort of scenario. Key systems like Exchange and certain others, we try, if at all possible, and we'll continue always to try to never have any downtime for the Tri County employees. So that'll be happening, and I'll let you know as things go on. On the GIS side, just a lot of more routine things, but it's, things are happening in that area. Updates of the school boundaries for USD 383, the GIS layers, new city utility layers. We got a request to update those, rural water lines. These are all things that our citizens rely on off the GIS website. So they get updated on a yearly or more basis. Obviously elections data, I guess I didn't remember this, but I guess there were new precincts due to 2020 annexation, so that sort of information gets updated. All of this is, they're on autopilot on a lot of this. I don't know until it happens, but I'm reporting that it's being updated.
We work closely with your staff on that.
Yeah, I don't need to be in the middle of that. New 2021 polling site, Riley City Hall replaces Riley Center, so just little things that are election related. Lastly, we being IT and GIS both continue to spend a fairly significant amount of time working with health department, EMS staff, et cetera, on COVID related activities, updating the dashboards that the citizens look at to see where we're at on infections and vaccinations, et cetera, et cetera. That continues to use up a fairly good amount of time, and it's become they know what to do on a daily or weekly basis, and it's happening, but just remind the board that it does continue to happen and will continue to happen as long as it's needed. So that is pretty much my update for ITGIS for April. And commission has any questions? Yep. Plenty going on.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Happy day. Can't forget the mass.
Next, commissioners, you have Amanda at 9:50. How's Amanda?
Doing well, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Works.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it just depends. Sometimes it wouldn't be.
That's a hard.
Okay, Amanda. Let me get up here and let everybody else speak.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Amanda Snow, Planning Director. So I'm here to talk about our zoning enforcement officer and the process that we will need to take for replacement in preparation for Steve's retirement in October. He has decided that it is time for him to retire from the county. And again, he is targeting October 1st. So of course, we need to back up a little bit and start that replacement and recruitment process for that position. So Elizabeth and I have worked together for the last few months to update the position description, kind of, have it reflect a little bit more accurately what Steve does and what this position is expected to do. I think the last time the job description had been updated was maybe early 2000s, so it definitely was in need of a refresh as it was. Along with that, we looked at some different pieces of this actual position that we think we would like to change as part of this recruitment process. One of those big pieces is it's currently a non-exempt position, which of course means it's an hourly position that does have the possibility of overtime if he works outside of the standard 8 to 5 workday. You can imagine the nature of code enforcement, floodplain issues, and we've had actually sadly great examples these last few weeks with a few things we're dealing with, where he has had to definitely work outside of those hours. So for that as one reason, a few others, it does make sense for this position to be reclassified to exempt status. Where again, they wouldn't be subject to overtime, it would be salaried rather than that overtime possibility. And that better matches up with, of course, we have a planner and our environmental health specialist, of course, my position, we're all exempt professional staff level. So it makes a little bit more sense for this position to be exempt as well. And also, as I mentioned in my card there, also as floodplain manager for City of Riley, and just being floodplain manager in general, those tasks and whatnot can cause work outside of the standard 8 to 5. And I apologize, I should back up a little bit. We are actually first proposing to rename the position to better reflect what the position does. Right now, of course, it's zoning enforcement officer, which of course most people probably think simply code enforcement. And of course, that is a lot of what Steve does. But he also does building permits. Of course, floodplain management is one big part of his job. So we wanted to be careful. We didn't want to just say floodplain manager or something specific like that, but we didn't want to give folks the idea that it was just simply code enforcement because it's so much more than that. So we are proposing to retitle it to planning compliance specialist. Because again, he does code enforcement and building permits, zoning and all of those different sort of things, which is a little bit more descriptive, if you will, in that simple, quick title that people will be looking at what he actually does there. So I apologize, I got a little ahead of myself. Let's see. So the other thing that we are looking at that Elizabeth and I have talked about is changing the grade from the current O to a grade of P. Of course, we need this confirmed by McGrath. The reason we're looking to do this is, again, it is a technical position that we do require background in floodplain administration, zoning code familiarity, building code, etc. So it is more of a technical level position. We do have concern that we are going to have some issue finding, suitable replacement that has the necessary education experience that we're looking for. So if we could pop that salary up just a little bit to be more competitive, we are hoping that will help in our recruitment process. And we both looked at, similar job descriptions across the United States, and the salary is fairly competitive to what we are asking for and the tasks that we are asking this position to do. And lastly, again, Steve's been with us for about 23 years now. So of course, he's got lots of knowledge, lots of experience with everything here. So it's going to take a lot to, transfer that Steve knowledge to a new person. So I would love to get as much time as possible with the new person and Steve together so they can do training. Ultimately and ideally, I'd love the position to start on August 1st. Which would give them about 2 months of cross training. Again, it's such a question mark how the recruitment process will go and if we're even going to be able to make that work, but that is my ideal target, to get somebody in here by August 1st or on and around August 1st to give them some time to overlap there for training purposes. So again, lots of things I've just thrown at you. So basically, again, I'm requesting permission to advertise and fill the future vacancy. We'd like to advertise on and around June 1st to get that process going. So I would like permission to advertise and fill future vacancy to retirement on October 1st. Upgrade and reclassify the position to exempt status, grade P, step 2. Again, knowing that we need McGrath to first take a look and make sure that that's in line. And then have the replacement start ideally August 1st to allow for about 2 months of cross training before Steve retires. Just touching on the fiscal impact a little bit here. Of course, Steve is at a grade O, step 15, which is $34.89 per hour and about $72,500 annually. And he is non-exempt, so overtime does occur occasionally. If we do a grade P step 2, that would have a rate of $24.77 per hour and about $51,500 per year and no paid overtime. So as you can see, we're definitely going to have a bit of savings, if you will, with the new salary, with the new person. And there will be, of course, a cost of overlapping for the 2 months of training, which we have listed there. It's just under $8,000. But again, as you see, we are going to be reducing that rate of pay, so we would be able to cover that amount. We wouldn't need to do any kind of budget amendment or request anything outside what's already budgeted for this position for this year. So let's see, so we do recommend and ask that you approve our request to advertise and fill the future vacancy, as well as approve our modification or request to modify to exempt status at grade P, step 2, and allow the person or us to target the new person to start on August 1st for training overlap of 2 months.
Discussion, go ahead. Yeah. Hey, question. Because you say it's rated to be 20, it's per hour, but if he's going to exempt, are you still by hour or is it by pay period? I'm exempt, not exempt, not clear on.
That does matter. Obviously, we're talking 2 different things. We're talking about budget. So our total budget is annualized, but no, his pay rate would be on a salary basis. I should say it's the new person's pay rate. So Steve's would be on an hourly basis. It is on an hourly basis. And the new person would potentially be on an exempt basis. So they would have a 2-week pay rate.
Okay.
I did add.
You put hourly, just as a comparison for the hourly, but they'd actually be salaries.
So what she did is she used the equivalent of a grade P and equivalent step 2. So then breaking that down to figure out what the pay rate would be, she used that 24 an hour, but no, it would not be based on that. So I did run that with some benefits, which is also obviously an important part. So right now, 1 full year of Steve's salary and benefits would be $101,236,000. That's how much we have budgeted, right? That depends on which benefit he takes and those things, but that's what we have budgeted. This new position, hiring at a grade P exempt, an annualized wage would be $72,000, just under $72,000. So there is that's with benefits as well. So there's some cost saving there. The only issue really, as far as budget goes, would be that overlap of training.
Yeah.
And so she's asking for 2 months, which she thinks would be the adequate amount of time for one to train the other. But then that would be the only part really that would be an expense, an added expense that you don't currently have planned.
Another question, and it says in here, it said that the change in grade and stuff be confirmed by the graph. And a lot of times when we change them, you see in the graph that do we pay them every time we do that? Or is that, are there a yearly?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And actually, Rich and I just spoke about it. So right now we have an agreement with McGrath because they've done our large studies and they've done, basically helped us set our entire pay
Yeah, I knew
rate.
that a few years ago, they set up the whole thing.
Right, and so on these one-off basis, they're doing this as part of our service agreement.
Oh.
And so we are not being charged. Now, I don't know the exact limitation of that. That's what we just literally lost, I think maybe in the beginning of this week spoke about it. So I need to understand where the time limit of that is, but we're still covered for her consultant fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then just to clarify that too, we don't change the pay grade in order to offer more money. The pay grade needs to be set by the responsibilities in the position.
Right.
And I don't know that that's what you meant, but I kind of heard something there that might be confusing. And so really what the problem is with this particular position is that having been about 21 years old, the position description, the jobs that he is doing are not reflective of the position. And so the responsibility level and the jobs of what Amanda is having the current incumbent do is not reflective of the position description. And so once we update those responsibilities, the grade that really fits it better, it's likely, in my estimation, a P. Now, again, that has to go to McGrath. She's the expert. She's our
And they
consultant.
will evaluate it.
And they'll evaluate whether my estimation is accurate. We've been right on the last several months, but she might see something as an outside eye that we're not catching.
But she compares it to other places. Is that what McGrath does compared, say, in other counties or state,
So not right now, actually. So right now, once we get our pay grade and all of our positions graded and set, that's that point where she's comparing it to everything else in the industry and all of our competition. What she does now is she takes all of our positions and makes sure that this position fits into our pay grade structure. So all of our positions, so even if, let's say this particular position was found, if we did a singular study was found to be much higher in another area, we need it to fit into our pay grade and our system. And then if that's incorrect, we need to look at the whole thing. But right now, we make sure that everything's equitable within our pay bands. Does that make sense?
Like I said, I just, the other day after we done it, McGrath said, what exactly does all that involve?
Yeah, and I had similar questions because there's a lot of different ways to do it in different industries, whether it's private or public, and Rich and I were speaking about that as well. And really this salary study, which may be more what you're saying, like, do we compare it to everything out there, is a very large undertaking that really is only done by public institutions for the most part. So we've done that and we've said, okay, this is where all of our positions land, and now we want to make sure that we have consistency within our other positions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would think that it would be analyzed, by state, similar states, as opposed to national. So is that kind of what she does?
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors to take into place. And I actually just forwarded Rich something that was done by Potawatomi County Economic Development that really looked at similar, so it looked at it two ways. It looked at it by large employment cities, so larger cities in our area that really draw employment, and then it looked at industrial cities, and it looked at manufacturing cities, and so it really there was a different spread. So some of the bigger cities, of course, were Kansas City and St. Louis, but then some of the smaller ones were like Omaha and Lawrence, and so just kind of like looking in different demographics of who's drawing different types of employees and where our pay grade's sitting. But just to be clear, every single time that I ask McGrath to evaluate now a single position, they're evaluating that within our pay structure. So a bigger question is whether or not is our pay structure still accurate at this point? But that's a different question.
When was that originally done?
2008 and then 2012 we had an update. But 2008 was the original full in-depth study.
Go ahead, Rich.
After the commissioners are done.
I'm done.
So the only thing that I would, when you advertise this, is clarify that it's an annual salary rate as opposed to, like keeping the hourly rate out of it and just make sure people understand it's a salary based on the weeks of the year, so there's.
Believe that.
Good, so you said that two ways.
Yeah.
The second way you said it is how I would prefer, well, it's actually how we calculate
So it's
salary at this
the
point, so yes.
Right.
So Amanda wrote this and she got the pay rate, and really this is part of our calculation. One of my goals is to update our salary pay range so that you actually see the pay rate instead of this hourly equivalent.
Yeah,
But yes, we will be very clear that this position, if you approve it, would not only start August 1st, even if we find the best candidate June 1st, I mean, that would be just amazing pie in the sky idea, right? But it would start on August 1st and it would be an exempt salary position with a bi-weekly pay rate.
okay.
And that's how we would definitely advertise it.
Yeah, because I think that gets confusing for new people.
Right, and we're trying very, very diligently to say an annual equivalent so that someone can understand that for 2021, your annual equivalent would be what we talked about, the 72,000, but we want to make sure that we're very clear that our pay rate is set on a bi-weekly and it's not exempt. And not to make this longer than it was, but when she talked about the differences between exempt and non-exempt, there's much more to it than avoiding overtime. That's really actually not part of our expectation, but the person is expected to manage their projects versus us managing their time.
Yeah.
So we're not going to exempt employees. We don't really manage minute by minute, hour by hour. We expect management of project completion, task completion, responsibility completion. So there's a little bit different perspective there.
Okay.
Everybody done? Okay.
One quick
Go ahead.
Commissioner.
Go ahead, Rich.
When are you planning to start advertising?
So really, really good that you caught that because that's a little bit earlier than sometimes. What we would like to do, so we have to, if you approve, we have to get it classified and verified and make sure that we're on track with our salary. If it's not on track, we have to bring it back and let you know there's a difference. And then what we'd like to do, our goal is to open advertising June 1st because we feel, and I showed Amanda, I kind of went on into some of the big recruiting sites, Indeed and LinkedIn, and showed her anyone with this skill set. Locally, we didn't, this was a 5-minute search. We didn't find this skill set. Nationally, we did. We have to determine what's trainable and what's necessary to come in, right? So there's some things that are absolutely necessary. They must walk in the door with, and then there's going to have to be a set of skills that are going to have to be trained, which is the point of asking Steve to stay on. So we feel it might take us 6 to 8 weeks to recruit.
So the answer is June 1st.
June 1st is when we'd like to.
I would not recommend the commissioners approve the motion as is because the commissioners are approving it at a P2, which P2 brings another question that I have.
Yeah.
You're approving it before it's been evaluated.
Yes.
And so I would not do that. We should never do that.
Which is why the goal she's
because it could change. But then also I don't understand, we should always start each position, which is traditionally what we do, at a 1. The grade range is a 1, whether I understand the purpose because Elizabeth and I have had this discussion. It's something really I believe the commissioners are going to have to address fairly soon is no one is really able to hire anyone basically within the first 3 steps of our pay grades because that's just how much it has changed. And part of what really attributes to that is not giving that annual step and annual cost of living that gets you behind on your pay. So I wouldn't recommend approving this motion because the commission's approving it before we even know what McGrath says. And actually determining an exempt status, there's very specific rules on why you go from non-exempt to exempt. And so I think it's premature to approve this motion in its current format.
I was going that direction myself, but wanted to give everybody a chance to chime in. I think we need a full evaluation on this because, you are moving it from non-exempt to exempt. I need to know everything that comes with that. I don't have a problem with if everything lines out with the pay structure and the overlap and everything that comes with it. I get all that, but we need to be very, very clear what our intent here is, and I'm a little iffy on that one myself.
Well, I'm afraid of course, we wouldn't advertise, but you guys making this motion is saying it's going to a P, and we don't know that it is going to a P.
Mhm.
So that's premature.
Those are really good points. I think our request, we can reformat our request, is really whether or not we can move forward to get this classified as.
That's fine for the classification. That's not a problem at all.
We can reword this and bring it back. And I also would like to point out that we have 2 processes, right? Budgeting and our filling.
Yeah.
And so the steps really don't belong in the filling. That's really based on the candidate that comes in. And so grade P is appropriate for request, but steps really belong in the budget. And we're talking about both at the same time, so we have them intermixed, so. So what, I guess, just to be clear, would you like us to present this in a more direct and simple way that's saying, asking if we can move forward and to get it classified?
I'm okay for, and I think we can do that by consensus of just going ahead and moving forward with the classification. And then at that point in time,
Yes.
when you have those specifics and it's been evaluated, come back to us.
Yes, okay,
We'll go
great, and then we'll be able to bring the code sheet with that as well then.
Okay, yeah, like I say, I'd say with consensus, go ahead. We don't need to see it again Monday. I mean,
These
go
justifications.
ahead. But come back with the final details.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Then, well, we've kind of went into Julie's time here a little bit here, but that happens. I'm going to go ahead then and make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Commissioner and convene as the Board of County Health.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good
Okay,
morning.
Julie.
I've got some background information for you for some numbers and stuff to kind of lead this mask discussion. So as far as numbers from yesterday, of course, we were only doing weekly reports. So we only had 17 new cases since the previous week, which that's the lowest we've seen in a long time, with 29 new recoveries. So that puts us at 28 total active cases, whereas last week at this time, we were at 40 active cases. Our percent positive has stayed under 5% for 3 months now. We were at 2.1% the week prior to last, and last week we were at 1.02%. Only one person in the hospital at this time. I checked with Bob yesterday morning. So as far as vaccine efforts, we are now doing first doses at the FCRC parking lot under our tent on Mondays through Wednesdays. We're seeing about 70 to 80 people per day. Our slots are filling up, but we do have around 40 no-shows per week. So last week between Monday and Wednesday, we had 40 no-shows, and that's about what we're seeing this week as well.
That's for second shot?
That's for first
First shot,
doses.
okay.
Yep. We'll continue with our big booster clinic. So our second dose shots on Thursdays and Fridays through May 7th. So we do have a booster clinic going on right now at Potter Hall. I do want to thank Gary and Lynn for working with us on scheduling those out at Potter Hall. They've been really great, especially last minute. We've emailed them and, asked them for the use of the hall during cold weather. So Tuesday and yesterday we did use Potter Hall for our first doses since it was so cold outside. As of Monday morning, we have fully vaccinated 12,230 Riley County residents, which is about 19% of those who are eligible to receive the vaccine. And that number is a little over 62,000. So that's anyone who's 18 and older that is eligible for that Moderna vaccine.
That's just through health department?
Yes,
That's not,
so that's through
okay,
health
okay.
department and anyone who we've allocated doses to. So Stone Creek, Levine Health Center, we've allocated before to Dunn's and Berry's Pharmacy. So anyone who reports that through our system, that's where those numbers are coming from. So those are just Riley County residents.
But
So
there are some others that don't get reported, like the first batch that came through the hospital and the nursing homes. Are those included?
So we're able to pull those through our WebIZ system. So I do have those numbers.
Oh, those
here.
are, okay, I'm sorry.
Yep. No, you're fine. And then again, from just our numbers, about 17,781 Riley County residents have at least received one dose, which is right at about 28% of the population who's eligible. So Jake is the one in IT who runs those numbers for me, and he's very quick about doing that. So I really thank him. That equates to about 28,000 needles in arms that we've given so far through our clinic and those that we've allocated to. So again, those numbers are just Riley County residents that we've either vaccinated or that have been vaccinated at those clinics that we've allocated to. Renee has been very busy trying to find locations where other Riley County residents are getting vaccinated. And so far there's about 209 other locations, and not only in the county, but beyond our county and beyond even our state, where Riley County residents are getting vaccinated. And that's only the places that we've been able to pull numbers from either reporting systems or just by making calls. So out of those places, we know that about 40,000 vaccinations have been given. We're not able to determine how many first doses, second doses, but those 40,000 vaccines have been given to Riley County residents. We know that there are 19 different places in the county that are vaccinating. So over 30,000 vaccines have been given in the county from other places. And that number, I'm sorry, would include the 27,000 from our clinics as well. So it gets very confusing. There's a lot of different numbers and it's really hard to keep track of, but we're working on it. And I think I shared it with you, the Excel document that Renee's keeping track of that has all of Riley County residents that have been vaccinated in the county and also beyond. So we're trying to keep track of those numbers. But we can definitely get our numbers and very quickly we can see how many have had first doses and second doses through our clinics. But that's the only number we're really for sure of at this point.
So you have a grand total of about 28% of everything? Or
Yeah,
what is it?
28% that have at least received their first dose that have come through our clinics. But we know that number's higher because people are getting them elsewhere.
Okay, so you don't have the total grand.
Yeah, we don't have a grand total showing that percent. Yeah.
Yes, maybe 30%?
I would guess 30 to 35. Yeah. So definitely under half still.
Still low.
Yeah.
It's plateaued quite a bit.
Yeah.
I know Bob Koppel from Via Christi has sent some information along, and while the initial wave was really, really good and the numbers are staying in that same range, the vaccination process is just balancing out. I saw on our National Association of Counties dashboard this morning that basically the 3-county region here is at about a 22% non-committal rate.
Yeah.
And about an 8% firm non-committal rate. So that 70, 80% tile, it's not going to happen. I think we're looking at trying to maybe get to 50%, maybe 2/3. That's going to be the ceiling. So, and that's, for whatever reason, that is what it is.
Julie, when you have a lot of no-shows, do you follow up with them, find out why they didn't come, or what is the consensus?
Yeah, we have staff that we've assigned to that duty to follow up with those individuals to find out why they're not showing up. I would say the majority of what we found, they've gotten their doses other places.
Okay.
So they've made appointments at several different places and it's kind of whatever place they can get into first. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm happy to hear that at least they're able to get it elsewhere.
In terms of, we talked about moving basically operations over to the health department eventually and finishing up the larger clinics. What is the status in terms of emergency operations? Is there a timeline on that?
We haven't set a firm timeline on that. We're still meeting just once a week as command staff, and our big regional EOC is no longer meeting. We're only meeting as necessary.
Okay.
So
with the local group, I would still like maybe one final discussion and determination on that May 16th
okay.
Deadline. For me, I'm just putting it out there because I think it's just the right thing to do, but it's not my intentions to extend these past that May 16th deadline. I'm getting indication that
my intent to extend past today.
I go back and forth on that myself, but
Just takes a motion.
in terms of trying to get through
That's what I'm working on. Yeah.
I'm trying to get through the rest of getting through the rest of the school year and the large amount of activities and stuff with that. I'm back and forth on that, but I can let it go that long, but I'm not going any further. Once that day comes, and I don't know specifically what the city's determination is on theirs, but I get the hint that may be the same thing there too. So.
Well, and I've gotten, and you've probably gotten emails, and we need to stop it now, but we're not too far out from May 16th. So I would be, 16th would be okay with me, since we haven't seen really any spikes.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we need to support the schools. a lot of the rural people, I've been out in, different restaurants and places in the rural areas, they aren't following it anyways.
Well, there's places in town where that's
Yeah.
also
So-
the case. I think we're starting to see fatigue with it.
Yeah,
And,
a lot.
if it's, I know we have a mindset of looking at what's happening in other places, both pros and cons of all that. I understand that. My responsibility isn't Texas or Florida or Sweden or Michigan or New York. It's Manhattan, Kansas, and Riley County. And that's what I'm focused on here the rest of the way through. And with everything that we're seeing, just doesn't seem necessary moving past that date. And Commissioner Kinley may be right. It may be okay to do now at this point in time, but due to the dynamics of school and the university and everything else, I'll let it ride to the 16th, but I'm not extending it any further. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, could we, I know that we do advertisement, maybe we could do some pushes to get the vaccine, maybe through the PIO. And try to really encourage people to get vaccines.
One of the things,
Your next thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll lead into my
one of the things that I listened to on our national teleconference call last week was in developing that type of messaging, which is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
It needs to come from the medical sector.
Sure.
Hospitals, doctors, nurses, those people need to be developing that message. If they hear it from us, it's just going to hit a blank wall. If you're hearing it from, you tend to trust your doctors, right? By and large, when you go and see, not everybody maybe, but by and large, you tend to trust medical professionals that work with you on your health and health-related items. And they're saying that in other parts of the country, they're finding a little bit of success with that. So that's
We
certainly.
had a good Facebook Live a few weeks ago with
Yeah.
Dr. Weber and
Yeah.
Dr. Chase on there, and I think a lot of people tuned in, and there were many questions. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be worthwhile to do that again, maybe with a few different
Sure.
doctors.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and more that people hear things, the more popular it becomes,
yes.
whether or not we say it or, the health department or whatever.
Absolutely.
And just so the commission knows, Alice and the health department, of course, are working on different ways of getting those messages out. And I know, as a matter of fact, Alice is working on Sunday with a Spanish-speaking doctor here locally to get to that community. And so they are working on different ways.
And
to
that's
get
a
that
big
out.
one.
Yeah.
That's a big one locally that's been very non-committal. So
Mhm.
I wish for success there. Absolutely.
Alice has been great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess do you have anything else?
I had a question on the percent positive, it's 1%, I think it was this week. Because you had 1,700 people tested. And I know the numbers are probably way down, like last summer and fall, how many were getting tested a week? Do you remember?
Oh, gosh, it depends, but we only have about 1,500 maybe per week getting tested now.
Right.
I would say it was double that.
I was gonna say, I thought it was probably considerably down.
Yeah.
Because I knew there was lines and stuff forward, of getting tested.
And a lot more places were doing routine testing. So, our football players and
Oh.
our nursing homes were doing routine testing. So those were included in those numbers too, and not as much anymore.
Yeah.
That, but
No, I'd say the percent is going down, it's going the right direction.
yeah.
Is that everything? At least on this subject?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you've got a couple of approvals for funding for the figure. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Scroll down to that here. So we were made aware of a funding opportunity last Friday, and I wasn't able to really look into it until later, this week. And it's a quick turnaround. The due date is on Monday, this upcoming Monday at noon. So, but it's through the CDC Foundation. So you can apply for anywhere from 50 to 100,000 to really work toward raising awareness about the COVID vaccine and the flu vaccine as well. In the past, we've had trouble with our flu vaccine rates as well. And so we need to do more awareness campaigns on that. So my thought is to maybe hire another community health specialists like we have right now with the RADx program. We have Kelly and Jenny who are working with that. And that actually ends at the end of the summer with their evaluation and report due in September. So this grant cycle would start on June 1st and run through April 14th of 2022, which is an odd cycle, but it's only 10 months. And my thought is that this person would kind of pick up where they're leaving off, or the RADx program is leaving off, and really looking at those underserved at-risk populations that we may not be getting to with our vaccine, and really trying to raise awareness in those communities and beyond there as well. So not only would it be COVID vaccine, but it would be flu vaccine as well. We would also ask for funding for print materials like flyers and posters and possibly billboards, looking at ads on different websites and within the Mercury, things like that. So I think a lot of money could be thrown into this to kind of raise awareness and make sure that we're sending one consistent message about the vaccines and really trying to debunk any of those myths around the COVID vaccine particularly. So there would be no fiscal impact to the county, as I would ask for everything within that grant. So yeah, do you have any questions about that?
How much are you going to be applying for?
I'll apply for the whole 100,000.
100,000, okay. And that's a national, under the CDC.
Yeah.
When will they let people know?
I don't know. That it's a quick turnaround, you know, with it being due next Monday and then starting in June.
Yeah.
So
I would think there'd be probably a lot more available funding at this point in time. So I think the chance of actually getting that's probably higher than normal.
Yeah.
I would think. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see.
Sounds fine to me. I don't
Yeah.
have an issue with that.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
That's a good
Can I get a
idea.
motion?
I didn't approve applying for the grant.
One second.
It's been moved and seconded to request approval for the COVID funds through CDC Foundation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now it's time again for Judy Gibbs.
Yeah.
I'm here all morning. Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So this one is about the contact tracers. We currently have 15 contact tracers, 4 being full-time, so the majority are part-time. Our funding for this ends at the end of June. So we do have that extended ELC funding available through KDHE. That's good from July 1 of this year through June 30th of 2023. We wouldn't necessarily need all those contact tracers
I was
at
gonna
that
ask
time.
that. Okay.
Yeah, but we would ask to keep on what would be equivalent to 7.5 FTEs. That'd be 10 contact tracers. Not all of them would be full-time through the end of this calendar year, so through the end of December. So primary duties are what they're doing right now with that initial investigation. They're doing all of the contact tracing. As you know, those jobs have gone down significantly with our cases just now trickling in. So other things that they are doing right now is data entry, reconciling of entries, so kind of going back and fixing those mistakes, WebIZ entries from our vaccine clinics, which is a big job, some filing, and then they're also answering some vaccine calls and directing calls to others as needed. We do have that vaccine line, that 565 number that's directed actually to our contact tracers right now, so they are answering those calls. So those individuals would definitely be needed throughout the rest of the year to finish this work, but we just wouldn't need as many for the rest of the year.
I have kind of an unrelated question. Do we have any evidence that any of the variants are in the county?
We don't as of yet. We're checking for them almost on a weekly basis. So we're testing for those, but we haven't had any of concern in the county yet.
And that's something that the tracers would would become aware of.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We would treat those individuals the same, even if it's a variant of concern, they'd still do their 10 days of isolation. We just increase our monitoring with them as symptoms could be more severe. So definitely want to do we do the contact tracing on anybody, but make sure we definitely do the contact tracing with them. So
I would move to approve extending our contact tracers through December of 21.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to request approval to extend contact tracers through at least December of 2021 using proper funding source. All those in favor?
Aye.
May I just comment, just because we used an HR term there, and we had a question about this when we originally created the contact tracers. Approval of 7.5 FTEs, full-time employees, could mean 14 people. Could mean 7.5, it won't likely because it's hard to find full-time people, but I just want to make sure you understand that you may hear the health department say, okay, well, we have 12 for contact tracers.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thanks.
thank you.
Okay. I guess with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commission.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn for after the road and bridge tour.
Yeah, I got a couple of things I'm going to send to you. Invite to next month's military relations lunch. You may already be getting that. And then that Made for Manhattan stuff. In the last half an hour, I've got a email. I'm assuming it was just sent to me from James Kelly, District Director for Senator Moran. They're having a tour and a briefing at MBAF tomorrow. You're on that committee, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you've got that email or not. I'll send that to Rich and have him send it over to you.
Yeah.
It's at 10 a.m. I'm not going to be able to make it because of work.
Oh.
So don't send it unless.
Yeah.
I tell you what. Let me get a chance to talk to James and see what direction we want to go, and I'll get something over to Rich if I need to on that.
Okay.
We'll just go from there. That's all I've got.
I can get a motion to adjourn after the road and bridge tour.
Yeah, I make motion to adjourn after our road and bridge tour.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for adjournment after our road and bridge tour this afternoon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are they keeping the live stream up?
Shouldn't they?
Awesome. But he's
No, Kevin. I was gonna say I could shut it down if we need to. I wasn't sure if we had to keep it up, or else I could have shut it down.
No problem. Better right.
I don't know what.